it will be 10 raised to power m times 10 raised to power m, n. This is the multiplication rule. And we need to understand that the moment we see this sign, which means multiplication, we simply add the powers. The base is the same because it is to base 10. So we are going to have base 10 in bracket m plus n. So that is the first rule. That is the multiplication rule. Number 2, we are going to check the division rule. And remember, they are all to base 10. So what do? We have got base 10 raised to power m divided by base 10 raised to power m, n, sorry. Just like I said, the division rule, the moment we see this, what comes into our mind? We minus the powers. So what do? It will be base 10 in bracket m minus n. So these are the two laws which are going to guide us throughout our lesson. So, for example, let us start with this, the multiplication rule. Let us do an example. Let us do an example using the multiplication rule. For example, we'll be told, find 357 times 47.9. We'll be told to use our log tables to work out this. So what do? The first thing is we have to understand that dealing with the logarithm table, or rather the standard table, it is in standard form. So what do? We must first change the values in standard form. And what do? Now, the moment you see this kind of a question and you've been told to use the logarithm table to find the answer, it is as simple as we first write number, standard form, and finally logarithm. I know someone is asking himself or herself that why am I introducing the standard form? Remember, the log table that we are using is in standard form. And for us to match the answers in the log table, we also have to write the standard form. So our number will be 357. So we write it in standard form. This will be 3.57 times 10 raised to power 2. Raised to power 2. Now, we want to find the logarithm of this. What do? We start with the power first. What is our power? Our power is 2. It is 2. Now, we move to our log tables. The logarithm table or the 4-figure table. We check 3.5, and 3.5 is always on the X column of the table. When we open the logarithm, there is a specific page for the logarithms. We will see that it is written the logarithm. So what do? We check the X column. So the X column will be 3.5. From there we check the number 7. The number 7 lies between 0 to 9. The column between 0 to 9. So when we check that, we are going to find that our answer will be 2.527. 2.527. Now, this is the logarithm of this number. From there, what do? We move to the next. 47.9. The number is 47.9. In standard form, it will be 4.79 times 10 raised to power 1. Our logarithm will be 1 point. Just like I said previously, we check the X column where we have got the 4.7. Then we check the column between 0 to 9 where we going to get the value of 9, which 9 is in the foremost. So when we do that, our answer will be 1.6803. 1.6803. But Remember, we are dealing with multiplication. And previously, I said that we have got two laws, the multiplication and the division. So the moment you see this sign, the multiplication, what comes into mind is addition. So we add these two. So here we are going to have 0. We are going to have there 3. Here we are going to have 3. Here we are going to have 12. Point, then we write 1, which will be 4. So we will have 4.2330 to be our answer. Now, from there, what will happen? We will now come back. Now from here, instead of now finding the logarithm of this, we find the anti-logarithm. The anti-logarithm. And remember, the number 4, which is before the decimal point, is the power. So what do we do? It will be times 10 raised to power 4. It will be times 10 raised to power 4. The number 4, which is before the decimal, on the left hand side, is the power. So what do we do? After writing it to 10 raised to power 4, we now find the anti-logarithm of 0 point. In the logarithm table, you'll find where it's written the anti-logarithm. It will be 0.2330, which in the table, or the mathematical table, or the 4-figure table, will be 1.71. Will be 1.71. So from here, what do we do? In a normal circumstance, you can give your answer in 2 dimensions. One, you can either leave your answer in the standard form, which will be 1.71 times 10 raised to power 4. Or you can now work it out. You can simplify it by just multiplying this by this. Raised to power 4 simply means it is 1.71 times 10,000. So when you multiply this, we are going to have 17100. And this is our final answer. This is our final answer. So that is how we should work out a question dealing with logarithm if it has got a multiplication sign in between it. So that is the first way we can do that. Now, I will give you some time to write that. And remember, you are watching Kirk TV. It is a channel that enables teachers to view, to bring out their potential, and I will advise parents to allow their students or their children, when they're at home, to watch Kirk TV. It is an educational TV that improves the learning standards of our students. I will give you some time to write that, and you check it out. Ingie kwa akili. And remember, as we do this, as you read that, there's one thing I was told in school, that I was told by my math teacher that seek ye the kingdom of mathematics, and all other subject shall be added unto you. It simply means if you want to do well in mathematics, if you want to do well in other subjects, the first thing is you are required at least to have a good concept in mathematics. Now, this is dealing with multiplication. I want us to move to the next example, where now we have division. Where we have division. Where we have division sign. Remember, I have used the multiplication sign. Now, I want us to use the division sign. The division sign will be simple as we'll be told to evaluate using the log tables. Yes, and the question will be 864 divided by 136. Now, at the back of your mind, just like I said when I started, the first thing we need to understand is we have got 3 laws, but this is now the law of division. We'll use the same procedure. number, standard form, and finally logarithm. Number, standard form, and finally the logarithm. So the first number is 864. Now we change this in standard form and we'll start from the right coming to the left. It will be 8.64 times 10 raised to power 2 times 10 raised to power 2. Now this will be 2 point. I'm starting with the 2 because 2 is the power. It will be 2 point. We find the logarithm of this. Now our answer will be 2.5527. 2.5527. From there we will move. Sorry, it's not 2.5. It is 2. Sorry for that error. It is 2.9365. That is the value of that. We move to the next one, 136, which will be 1.36 times 10 raised to power 2. Our answer will be 2.1335. And just like I said, how to find the values of this? You check 1.3, which is in the x column. From there, you check the values which follow after there. Now, remember, this is division. The sign is a division sign. So what do? The moment you see a division sign, you have to think about subtraction. So we minus 5 minus 5, 0. 6 minus 3, 3. 3 minus 3, 0. 9 minus 1, 8. 2 minus 2, 0. So our answer will be 0.8030. 0.8030. Now, after doing that, what do? We now find the anti-logarithm. The anti-logarithm. And I said one thing. This 0, which is on the left hand before the decimal, is the power. And we have to indicate. So it will be times 10 raised to power 0. From there, what do? We now find the anti-logarithm of the value 0.8030, which will be, according to the log table, it will be 6.353. 6.353. But since it is raised to power 0, anything raised to power 0 is always 1. 10 raised to power 0 is 1. So when you multiply this by 1, we are going to get the same answer, which our answer will be 6.353. Now, our final answer, if we work out this, is 6.353. That is how to go about that. That is how to go about that. Now, before we proceed to the next value or to the next example, because this topic, just like I've said, is application of logarithm, it will mainly deal with more examples, and the examples will be explained. We'll give you time to synthesize that answer, and for my viewers, you can have time to at least write something down. Yes, and remember, you are watching Kirk TV, an educational TV that promotes learning to our students. Yes, having said that, I want to move to the next example. And the next example now will comprise of both multiplication and division. Multiplication and division. So I want you to be very, very attentive and check on this. Our first example will be, Roman A will be 456 times 3 398 divide by 271. Now, I'm sure one of my viewers will be asking, Mwalimu, why is it that in examples you give us very easy ones, but in exam you bring complex? Don't worry, I am here for you. The first thing is we have to understand that now this question, it has got two laws, the division and the multiplication. So what do? In mathematics, we always start with the numerator. We always start with the numerator. So what do? We use our normal procedure. Our normal procedure, which will be the number, standard form, and logarithm. And before I proceed, I will always tell my student, as a teacher, the moment I see this question in an exam, and my student has written this number, standard form, and logarithm neatly arranged, the first thing I will say, oh my, it's simple, and the student will have to get a concept. Now, the first thing is we start with the numerator, which will be the number 456. From there, we will move to the standard form. And just like I said, this is a whole number. And when we make it to standard form, we now move from the right to the left. And from the right to the left, the power will be a positive. The power will be a positive, which will be 4.56 times 10 raised to power 1, 2. Tunasonga 1, 2. Tunasimamia hapo. Power 2. We find the logarithm, just like the previous example. We start with the power 2. Start with the power, which is 2. Then, in the logarithm table, the value of x will be 4.5. 6 lies between 0 and 9. You check in the column of what? Of 6. So you start with the 4.5 in the x column. Then you move to the column between 0 and 9. And you find the value of 6. And you read it. According to my logarithm table, which I'm being assisted here, is 6590. 6590. So that is the value. That is the value. 2.6590. We move to the next value, which is 398. The standard form will be 3.98 times 10 raised to power 2. Just like we did on the other side. It will be 2.5999. 2.5999. Now, I am done with the numerator. Now the question is, what is the sign in between? It is multiplication. So what do? I add the values, or rather I add the logarithms, which are already given there. Simple. Mnamesamanga hesabu ni ngumu. Hesabu si ngumu, ni rahisi. So I add 0 plus 9, 9. This will be 18. I carry 1. This will be 10, 15. Carry 1. This will be 12. I write 2. Carry 1. If I add this, it will be 5. If I'm not wrong. So it will be 5.2589. That is the value in the numerator. We don't stop there. We move downwards now to the denominator. And the denominator, we have got 271. You will at least leave a space there for working down there. And remember, in the numerator, tumeongeza. Why? Because of the sign. I will repeat that over and over. Because of the what? Of the sign. So our standard form will be 2.71 times 10 raised to power 1, 2. 2. So it will be 2 point. We check the logarithm and the system just flows. It is 2.4330. 4330. Now, the next thing is, I am done with the numerator and the denominator. What do? I check the sign between the numerator and the denominator, which is a division. And remember, when we started our lesson, I said very simple, that the sign will allow you to use either division or addition. Now this is division. Whenever you see division, what comes to your mind? Subtraction. So we minus. So we are going to minus the value of the numerator minus the value of the denominator, which our answer will be 9 minus 0, 9, 8 minus 3, 5, 5 minus 3, 2. Now, sasa hapa ndio kuna ngori. Kuna ngori. Why? This is 2 minus 4. What do? We can't minus 4 from 2. Why? 2 is less. And one day I saw a student saying, tukifika hapo mwalimu, tunaanza na hii ya chini tunakuja juu. Hapana. What do? We move, we borrow. In mathematics you are allowed to borrow if you don't have. Umekubaliwa kuomba jirani yako. So tunakuja huku, tunaomba huyu jirani. Ni jirani mwema anatusaidia. We take 1. This is 4. If it cross the other side it will be 10. So now it will be 10 plus 2 to give you 12. So 12 minus 4 will be 8. You have the decimal point. Remember hapa tulikuwa tumetoa moja, so it will be 4 minus 2, which will be 2. And our answer will be 2.8259. 2.8259. This is the value of working out this. Now, from here, what do we do? What do we do from there? We find now the anti-logarithm of this value. And just like I said previously, we don't just find the anti-logarithm of everything, my learners. The first thing is this number before the decimal point, it is 2. That is the power. That is the what? The power. So what do? We say it is times 10 raised to power 2. That is the power. Or rather, we can say in mathematics, it is the mantissa. This is the mantissa and this is the characteristic. The value before the decimal on the left is the mantissa. So the mantissa is the power, whereas the value after the decimal is the characteristic. So we always find the anti-logarithm of the characteristic. We always find the value of the anti-logarithm of the characteristic. So that is how we find it. So what do? From there, we find the anti-logarithm of the characteristic, which is 8259. 8259, which according to the logarithm table or the 4-figure should give you 6.697. That is the value. But remember, we have got a power. Raised to power what? Power 2. So what do? We multiply by this. 10 raised to power 2 is like 10 times 10, which is 100. So we multiply by this, tutasonga mara mbili. 1, 2. So our answer will be 669.7. So our final answer will be 669.7. 669.7. That is our answer after working out that. That is our answer after working out that. That is our answer after working out that. That is our answer, good, after working out that. Yes, I will give you some little time to efforts to check on that, and at least you can write something about that, and we move on, because we still have got some good time and we have got some good things ahead of us which we need to cover. And as I give you time to write that to my learners and to the parents back home, remember we are watching the Kirk TV that brings educational projects to the student. It enables the students to understand more about academics, even when they are at home. So instead of telling your students or your children to watch cartoon, waambie waangalie Kirk TV. Kirk TV. Now, said and done. Said and done. We have to move to the next example. To the next example. And now, the next example, I will really need your attention. Why? One, it will now involve a third eye. And in mathematics lesson, if you hear mwalimu akikwambia fungua macho ya tatu, you need to be very careful. So what do we do? Our next example, just using this, evaluate using logarithm table. We will be given something in an exam which will be like 3.142 squared. 3.142 squared. Alafu uambiwe find the value of this using logarithm. Hapo ndo unasuka unasema haki ya nani? What will I do? Simple, relax. I am here for you. The first thing is, this is power. Squared is like power. So the moment you see the power, what do? We will just multiply by that value, which is on top there. Back to our roots. Number, standard form, then logarithm. I will repeat this formula over and over. Why? Because the moment you have got this formula, it will guide you. Uko na number, unatafuta standard form, then the logarithm. It will give you a flow of how mathematics should be. And I'm sure at the end of the lesson, you will say, maths is the best ever and is the most simple subject in high school, even in primary. Now, our number will be 3.142, but don't forget to write this, squared. Now, what is the standard form? It is already standard form. 3.142 times 10 raised to power 0. We move to the logarithm. Like I said, this power is the mantissa. So we usually write the mantissa first before the decimal. So it will be 0 point. Check the logarithm of this. Just like I told you in the starting. It will be 4969. 4969. That is the value in the log table. Now from there, what do? Remember, this is squared. This is power. It is power. Now, the moment it is power, now this value here, we are going to multiply our log. Now it will be times 2. Times 2. Giving us 0.9938. If you multiply this, utapata hii. Are we together? If you multiply this, you are going to get this. So now from here, what do? We now find the anti-logarithm of the characteristic. The characteristic is the value after the decimal. As you move to the right, that is the characteristic. That is the characteristic. But we have to write the mantissa, which is times 10 raised to power 0. That is the mantissa. 0 is the mantissa. It is the power. We have to indicate it. Now we find the anti-logarithm of the characteristic, which will be 9.858. That is the anti-logarithm of the characteristic. But since it is raised to power 0, and I said a number raised to 0 is always 1. If you want to know more, you can see me after the lesson. A number raised to 0 is always 1. Now answer will be 9.858. That is our answer. That is our answer. Now, before I proceed, I will remind you of this. This is a power. And the moment you see a power, it means we multiply. It simply means we multiply. I want to do a simple example, which now will show us another way of working out mathematics. You have got around 2 seconds to write that before we move to the last, if not least, example. Yes, you have got, I think I can now give the last example. Then we basically call it a lesson. We basically call it a lesson. And our final example will be 415.2 times 0.0761. Yes, divide by 135. Now, from there, we just use the normal procedure, which is the number, the standard form, and finally the logarithm. You will forgive me for repeating this, but it is the backbone of everything. Why? The moment you have got this, it will flow. Yani itakuwa inateremka. Mteremko. Paka unaona hesabu ni rahisi. So 415.2. The standard form will be 4.152 times 10 raised to power 1, 2. Check the logarithm. It will be 2, which is the mantissa. I will repeat, 2 is the mantissa, the power. Now we check, it will be 6182. We move to this. The number is 0.0761. Sasa hapa ndio kuna matata. Hapa ndio mwanafunzi anakuambia mwalimu, why is it that in an example you bring us easy things, but in exam mnaleta mawe? Si mawe. It is as simple as the moment you see that the the mantissa is a 0. The mantissa is a 0, and then there's a decimal point. It means now we are moving from the left to the right. We want to make this number standard form. From the left to the right. Now the number will be 7.61 times 10. The base will remain. But now the power will have to change the sign. Why? We are moving from the left to the right. Itakuwa 1, 2. Now itakuwa ba 2. I will repeat. The negative comes in when we are moving from the left to the right. That is when the negative sign comes in. And remember in mathematics also, the kwanza hii sign ya negative is very important. We have to indicate. It will be ba 2 point. Hata umeona nimeandika kubwa. Ba 2. We find which is 8814. When we add the numerator, because of the sign, tutapata, hapa tutakuwa na 6. Here will be 9. 9. Then 8 plus 4. 8 plus 6, 14 point. I carry 1. So here it will be 3 plus bar 1. Wacha niandike hapa. Itakuwa 3 plus minus 2. Hii bar imekuja minus, which will be 1. Sina kwanga hivyo kwa hesabu. Addition times subtraction is a subtraction. 3 minus 2 is 1. So tutakuwa hapo na moja. We move to the denominator, which is 135, which will be 1.35 times 10 raised to power 2. 2.1303. What do? We minus. Why? Because of the sign. It will be 3, 9, 6, 3 points. Sasa tuko hapa 1 minus 2. In normal circumstance, itakuwa negative 1. Sitakuwa 1 minus 2, which will be negative 1, because this negative is more than this. So hiyo negative inakuwa ba 1. Ba 1. The negative will be ba 1. Now, just like I said, the first thing is you have to indicate. You have to indicate this. Itakuwa times 10 raised to negative 1. This is the characteristic. So the mantissa. Sorry for that. This is the mantissa. We have to indicate the mantissa first. From there we find the anti-logarithm of the characteristic. Mantissa. Characteristic. We find the anti-logarithm of the characteristic, which will be 2.341. 2.341. Now, just like I said previously, you can leave your answer in standard form or you simplify it. I hope you are together. This is negative. So itakuwa 0.2341. So our final answer is 0.2341. That is the last example I wanted to give. Now, just in a nutshell, we have learned the application of logarithm. And we have known that for you to apply logarithm, it means you have to know the 3 laws of logarithm. 1, the power law. 2, the multiplication law. And finally, the division law. The power law, just like you have seen, the moment you have got the power law, just winding up, the moment you have got the power law, we will just multiply. The moment you have got the power law, you will just multiply. I will use, this is 10 raised to power m times 10a. It will be 10m plus n. Why? The sign, multiplication. 10 raised to power m divided by 10 raised to power n will be 10 into m minus n. And now, the power law, for example, if you have got 10 raised to power m, n, hapa itakuwa, now it will just be the base into m times n. So that is, these are the 3 laws which govern indices and logarithm. Those are the 3 laws. If you know them, you are good to go. And that marks the end of our lesson for today. I am very grateful for my listeners. Now, as we conclude, just like I said in the introduction, I am Mr. Julius Olumbe Odhiambo. I'm from Homa Bay County. My current station is Ng'ethu Secondary School in Gatundu. And for those who are willing to reach out to me, you can reach out by my number, which is 0769262499. I'll repeat, 0769262499. Thank you, Kirk TV, for giving me this opportunity to come and share with you my ideas. And at large, I will thank my principal, Madam Margaret Nyamu, wherever you are, for inspiring me to be where I am. Thank you. That marks the end of our lesson.